Hey everyone, I'm here with Evelyn Neyens. That was correct?
Neyens, but
No, oh yeah, I just did it the UK way now. You talked about it. Sorry. I just asked her and I already forgot about it. I'm so sorry. Can you introduce yourself shortly?
so yes, I'm Evelyn Neyens. I'm originally Belgian, but I'm living in the UK now. So I fight for the GB national kickboxing team. Um, and you might have seen me on competitions.
I definitely think so. You're currently the world champion in the -60 point fighting. So yeah, I guess a lot of people have seen you. Also, the first with your team, with the GB team, the first winner of the female team fight. That was so cool. It was
Yeah, that
really,
was really cool.
yeah, it was a lot of great fighting. How does it feel to be the first winner of the female team fight?
Well, it was really cool because we didn't really know what to expect, and we only knew a few weeks before we were going out that the format had changed and that it was not one woman, but that it was actually a women's team. So yeah, we were really excited to all fight together, and we just had the best time. We just had lots of fun, and that's why we won, really.
Amazing. That's so cool. Um, can I ask, when did you start kickboxing?
So I started kickboxing when I was 6 years old, so I'm 27 now. So a long
Wow.
time ago. And yeah, I just started in my local Belgian kickboxing team. Um, and once I started, I just continued, started doing competitions, realized I was quite good at it, and then yeah, it's fun to stick with something you're good at, isn't it? So just continued.
That's true. And I think from Belgium, like it's such a small country, but I think you had a fair amount of really good fighters. So I would love to hear about how was the training in Belgium? How did you make so many good fighters?
Well, growing up, we in Belgium we had like one or two kickboxing teams. So you had ours, and then you had another kickboxing team that was quite good as well. But besides that, there was really not any kickboxing teams, not especially specialized in point fighting or light contact. Um, so yeah, in our team, we were really lucky that we had some people that already were there. Kurt Bart, Bjorn Bart, they were really like good people for us to grow up to look up to. Yeah, and then when I was a junior, when I was young, we had a really strong team of fighters that were always there to spar with, always going on competitions. So it was awesome to train together. It was mostly boys, so that toughened you up as a girl as well.
Sure.
So yeah, it was awesome.
Cool. I like how you mentioned that because I just made an episode with a woman from Norway, and they have a whole program how to keep youth fighters in kickboxing. And one of the things she mentioned was it has to be fun because that's the reason they come back. And it sounds like that's what you mentioned there. You just had a good team, you had a lot of good times, and you just had fun together and train.
Yeah, and on and off the mat, like
Yeah,
even in our free times, we were all best friends. We would all hang out together, you know, organize to do stuff together. And then when we would go to competitions, it was like one big fun trip. We would
nice.
all support each other and just have the best time.
That's so cool. And how much did you train back then? Like how many times a week?
Back then, so when I was a kid, I would say I was training about 4 times a week.
Mhm.
So Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. That would be normally my training days. But then, yeah, obviously you grow up and you realize that's not enough, and you have to push yourself a bit more. But yeah, up until I was like 15, I would train 4 times a week.
Nice. And when did you move to the UK?
Uh, Almost a year ago, so the 1st of February last year.
Nice. And can I ask, why did you move?
Well, my fiance is from the UK, so
Nice.
it was a long distance relationship for a while, and then we decided something has to change. So that was me going to the UK.
Nice. And congratulations. Did you plan the wedding or is COVID getting in the way of everything?
Well, we're planning it. It's happening next year, so we still have some
Oh,
time. So we're actually checking out some venues today. So really excited.
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And I'm just so curious, what are you doing outside your sport? So when you're not doing kickboxing?
Well, I used to have a full-time job around it. When I was in Belgium, I was a police officer.
Yeah.
And when I started working here, I worked for Lego, just,
The Danish
full-time job
company.
around the kickboxing. Yeah, Neyens.
Nice.
But now, since the beginning of this year, I decided to do the PTs and kickboxing training full-time.
Wow, that's amazing. And how can you do that? Like,
Well, we teach for Genesis Gym in Marlow. So we run the kickboxing there. We're the kickboxing coaches. And besides that, I get one-on-ones with the people that want it. So yeah, it's really nice to choose your own diary a bit more and have a bit more free time as well. So.
that's so cool. This is my dream. I also have my fiance Jens, and this is what we want to do. We just want to build a gym. We want to everything be centered around kickboxing because that's just what we love. So amazing to
Well,
hear.
when I was in Belgium, it was really not possible to do something like that. People would never pay the amount of money that people pay here to train. But here there's a lot more possibilities. There's a lot more kickboxing teams, a lot more competitions. It's all a little bit more organized. And, people actually know kickboxing and want to do kickboxing. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. We're a little bit afraid about the same because we want to move back to Denmark and do it, but definitely kickboxing is not a big sport there, and everything is also based on volunteer work. When you do a sport in Denmark, you go and the trainers are volunteers, so it will be a big difference if we ask them to pay a bigger amount of money. So that will be interesting. Yeah.
Would you move back to Denmark?
Yeah. We just miss the family a lot, and we've been gone for 5 years, but I don't think we will move home anytime soon, but we just know in the long-term plans we want to go back there. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah. And how is the training in the UK?
So day-to-day training I do with my fiance Raj. So we do our everyday training together. Then when we teach, we take some sparring classes and we join in the training. But other than that, it's usually us two training together. But the big difference is that we have a lot of good fighters within proximity, so we can, travel to other people's gyms if we want to have some good sparring. If we want to, train with other people, they're all around, and they're actually international good fighters.
That's so cool. Yeah, a dream come true right there.
Yeah.
And how much do you train now? Now you say you live from it, so probably every day, but
yeah, every day. So, well, in the running to a world championships or something, we will train 2 or 3 times a day. But now, normal day-to-day training, I would say 6 times a week.
okay.
So yeah, well, 6 days a week. Not sometimes we train more than once a day.
Yeah.
But 6 days a week, and then we try and have 1 day off. So yeah, that's our running to normal competitions.
Nice. And will you go to Karlovac?
Probably not, because it's still a little bit difficult. But we're lucky in the UK. We actually have quite a good circuit of competitions still happening.
Nice.
So we got the GB Grand Slams, we got the SIMAC Super League, we got the GB Nationals. So we have lots of stuff actually happening. Like next week I have a competition, the week after that, the week after that. So we actually have stuff happening here, which
wow.
is exciting.
Wow, this is so cool. Also for the motivation of the fighters, it's amazing.
Yeah, they never closed down the competitions here. So at least we have that circuit where, especially for juniors, it's really competitive. So it's really, really good.
Wow, you're so lucky. First of all, that you have the competitions around you, and second of all, that they didn't close down. But I thought about something, because I also had the pleasure to move around and train in different clubs. And I always learn something new about the sport, because every time I meet a new coach, they see it from another angle. So I'm so curious, what did you learn about point fighting from moving to another country and seeing it from a different view?
Well, it's really nice to be in a team surrounded by people who are like-minded, and people who are also winners, because a winner's mindset is something completely different. So I know that if I train by myself, if I train in a team, I know what to do to win. But it's actually really nice to be around like-minded people who also have that same drive, that same motivation. So I wouldn't say I necessarily learned something new about the sport, but it confirmed what I already knew, or what I was already doing. So yeah, that's really important too.
Nice. And you talk about the winner's mindset. Can you tell me more about what is this?
Well, when I prepare for a competition, I don't really care about other fighters. I don't really look who's in my section. I don't really study at the other fighters. I don't ever watch videos. I don't watch videos of my own fights. I don't watch videos of other fighters. But what I do is I record every training of mine. Like I would record every single session that I'm doing by myself. When I'm really focused on myself in the running to competition and trying to improve myself and making myself the best possible version that I can be. And I think if I do that, if I give myself all the tools to be the best possible version of myself, then I go out there and I have nothing to lose. I will always know that I gave it everything I got, that I prepared on me, that I did it for me. And yeah, that just seems to be working the best for me.
This is super interesting because this is a completely new, like a new angle from everything I've heard before, because you say you do not look at your opponents, you do not look at your competition videos, but you do a whole other thing. So can you take me through this progress? So you go to the training and you record yourself. Then what do you do with these recordings?
So every day after the training, I will look through my recordings. I will write down what wasn't good. Drop my guard. My chamber wasn't high enough. Not enough speed in my kicks. Not enough height. Not enough movement. Overreaching on this punch. Underreaching on that punch. I would write down very detailed. I'm very harsh for myself, like my worst critic. So I would write down all of these things. Anything where I went wrong, and then write that down. So the first few weeks in a competition, I really focus on getting stronger rather than doing lots of sparring. I don't do any sparring at all in the first weeks that I'm preparing. So I'll film my strength sessions. I'll see where I go wrong there. I'll see my left leg is a bit weaker than my right leg, or my left arm is not doing what it should be doing. Focusing on those things. And then it goes into technical training where I'm filming my technical side. Are my techniques looking the way they should be looking, to put them into sparring? And then eventually it all comes together. We got the strength, we got the techniques, and then it goes into a bit more sparring. And depending on the people I'm sparring, I'll record that or I won't record that.
Wow, amazing. And does that mean that when you are at the training, you just focus, like you are there completely, and then you do all the critics after? Because, for example, what happens to me, I will analyze the kick or the punch in the situation, and then I will either get frustrated or I will start overthinking or something. Can you leave all of that and then focus on it later, or is it a mix?
It's a bit of a mix, because when I'm training, I will realize, oh, that wasn't good again. That wasn't good again. I will realize it, but I try and just think, okay, I'll analyze it later and see how can I exactly improve that area. But I do try and just focus on my training when I'm there, either it's by myself or with Raj or with someone else. I really just try and be in the moment and focus on the training.
Wow, this is amazing, because I always think about it like you have to have a coach, because they see it from an angle you can never see yourself, but you can just put up a video camera, so you're like almost your own coach.
When I was younger, I would look at my opponents and I would look at my own fights, and I would get so stressed and think, oh, I didn't do that right, that was awful, that's why I lost, or that's why I won, and I would just overthink it, and I would I would focus so much on what these opponents are doing. I would watch videos of them and think, God, they are looking sharp, and not realizing that I am looking sharp as well, which should be my main focus. I should realize that I am training and that's why I'm looking sharp. But I wasn't training like that. And then once I started leaving that behind, once I started focusing on me, things really started to change for me.
Wow. Yeah, and you also add another level of value because you say that it's about you being the best version of you. So, and that's the only thing that you should even care about in this life at all. So it's amazing. I really like this perspective. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. I'm super
No
excited.
worries. It's also, when I'm completely out of shape or I took a big break with COVID or whatever, I know what to do to get myself back into that fighting shape that I need to be in. So we'll do like a 12-week training where I know exactly how to follow that and how to do that. And it's been working for the last few years. So as long as it works, I'll just keep doing it like that.
Amazing. Okay, so now you just said it. I have to ask because I went for the first time to the World Championships and it was huge for me. And, the whole year I built up for this event and the event is over and I feel like, not my life is over at all, but it was just such a big part of my life and then it's gone. And then it was so hard for me to get the motivations to come back to this. And I'm also thinking, because we're athletes and injuries happen. So when you have an injury or when you have this setback that you lack motivation or something, how do you deal with this?
Well, I've had some bad injuries in the long time of years I've been training. But yeah, just, that feeling when you're winning and that feeling when you're on the top is something that I can't find in any other aspect in my life. Like, I will have amazing times and I have lovely moments outside of kickboxing. But that feeling of winning or being the best is, something that I can't match in anything. So when I'm not having that, I feel like my life goes a bit flat. I don't have extreme highs, but I don't have extreme lows either, which is what you need to make you feel alive. And that's why I keep going back to it. I love the feeling of winning, kind of need the feeling of losing too to keep me going. And that's why I keep going back to it. So even when I'm injured, even when something happens, I always say, oh, I'll take a break, I'll take it easy this year. But I never take it easy because I just want that constant rush.
Wow. And now you say you need losing. How do you react to losing?
Well, when I was younger, I would lose a lot more than I do now. And if I would lose because I wasn't prepared enough when I was younger, especially, I would get really frustrated at myself, really disappointed. But it really changes when you focus on yourself, because when I lose now, I know that even though I lost, I have prepared 100% the way I should be preparing. I've done everything within my power to be the best possible version of myself. So eventually, the other girl was just better at that moment. And then there's not that much you can be angry at yourself about. Yeah, maybe one or two techniques in the fight, you think, I should have done that or I should have done that. But other than that, you can't really say, oh, I should have prepared better. And that makes it a lot more bearable when you lose.
Absolutely.
Makes it easier to come back from it as well. Makes it easier to say, okay, I have to work on this one technique because that clearly wasn't good enough. But all the other things, the big package of it was fine.
Absolutely. I like how this keeps coming back to you. Like, it's a game. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. Sometimes it's maybe the referee, sometimes it's because you didn't prepare, and sometimes the other person was just better. But when you know that you did everything you could do, then that's just it.
Yeah, and some people are just not focused on themselves enough, I feel. And like, the kickboxing, everything about it is a selfish game. I train because I need to train, and when I'm using Raj to train with me, I'm using him to benefit my training. And as much as that is selfish, he knows that that's the way it is, and he knows that that's the same the other way around. And I'm training because I want to be the best. I'm not training because I want to help everybody else to be the best, you know, except for my own fight team, of course. But you know, it's really important that when you're training, you're just focusing on you and focusing on what do you need to improve, what do you need from this training, and then you just carry that on. And ever since I started training like this, it just everything became so much easier, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how did you start with this 12-week program? Was it something you tried out and it worked, or someone told you, or how did you get it to this perfect program?
Well, so my first adult world championships that I won was in Ireland 2015. So before that, I was training, maybe I did like an 8-week preparation, and anytime that I was at a competition, normal competitions, I would be fine because, you know, you keep going every competition, you'll have like, you know, 10 fights in a row or whatever if you do multiple sections. So I would be fine because, you know, you have that adrenaline and you keep going. But then when it came to world championships or European championships, I realized that I was never fit enough. Like, as much as that's really hard to say about yourself, I realized that I was not fit enough and that I was losing because my fitness was letting me down. And because, you know, when you are fit, you can focus on your entire fight game, on everything that you want to be throwing. But when you're not fit, you're literally focusing on surviving. I would look at the time and think, still another minute, I can't do this. And I just realized that was what was letting me down. So I thought, okay, I'll break it down. I'll break this training down. And I made it 12 weeks where in the beginning, I just work on the basics, you know, cardio and strength, try and build that up. Then I'll work on the technical side, you know, speed, explosiveness, technical application of kicks, of punches. And then after that, I'll get into sparring. And then I realized the more, when I actually did that, I felt fit and I felt like I could focus on everything that I've been working on. So once something starts working, you keep doing it, right? So ever since then, I just kept doing it that way.
Wow. And is your program broken down so much that, you know, for the 12th week, you know exactly what to do in each training? Wow.
Yes. So in the beginning of the 12 weeks, I'll make like a calendar format and we'll have 2 trainings a day usually. So I'll write what we're doing. So we do it together. And then, often it's in the beginning, say it will be bungee cords and running, or swimming and running. And then in the more strength phase, it will be adding the gym 2 or 3 times a week to that as well, plus the kickboxing drills. But I'll write out the kickboxing drills as well, exactly what we're doing, how many we're doing. You know, keep yourself accountable. If I say we're doing 50 of it, and I'm exhausted after 30, I know I wrote down 50, so I'm going to have to push to 50. So that's how I do it.
Nice. Wow. This is, I even got the chills when you mentioned some of the things, because it's really amazing. Also because when you go to these big events, it's like, okay, so should I start preparing in August, or is September too late? Or, you know, it can be a feeling, but for you, it's not a feeling. For you, it's like, okay, now we're 12 weeks down and I have to get through it. So you can, you know, from those 12 weeks, you know what to do. And before that, you know that I can even be on the beach today and enjoy, because I know exactly what I will get doing and just do it. Yeah.
Really, exactly that. It's very methodical, and it makes you go to a competition and show up and feel I'm ready. You know, I walk in a competition and I think I'm ready, bring it. I've done my 12 weeks. I've done what I should be doing. My mindset's right, because in those 12 weeks, and especially in like halfway through, we'll start focusing on mindset, you know, read about mindset, talk about mindset, a lot of talking about mindset. Very exhausting. But it makes you show up to competition and feel like I'm ready.
Wow. Okay. I love that you mentioned mindset, because I was also so curious. Do you work on your mental training? And now you say, okay, yeah, in these weeks, but did you ever have a mental coach, or how did you go through this whole mental progress?
Not really. Like, I would listen to podcasts and I would read books and stuff like that. But I think the main difference for me has been talking about it, because, you know, lots of people just act like they're this big, strong fighter or whatever. And once I started talking about my insecurities, especially to my partner, once I started talking about those insecurities, I realized that I could solve them. You know, it's not just something that I have to keep inside, or that is going to make me look weak or make me sound weak. It's something, if I talk about it, I can solve it. And so in those weeks, especially for World Championships, even if it's for a normal competition, anything, any insecurity that I feel, we just talk about it. We talk it through until it feels like I'm not anxious about it anymore, and then it's gone.
Nice. Wow. Now, when you said that, you just took me back to the 2 weeks before the World, or 3 weeks before the World Championships, where we were on the training camp. And these are the final weeks. So I was so ready and I was so prepared, and I knew what I was getting into, like not exactly, but I knew that this was the time we had to train 3 times a week, and I was ready for it. But when I was there, the amount of times I just broke down and felt insecure or, stressed, that was crazy. I didn't understand that this pressure is so big. So I'm happy to hear that in these weeks, it sounds like you go through some of the same progresses, like even though it's so close and you should be ready, you can still feel insecure, and okay, I will just talk about it now and say this and this, and we will figure it out. But this still hits you, even though you're so close to the competition.
Yeah, definitely. And people often ask me, "Oh, you must not feel nervous anymore, or you must not feel pressure." But I still feel the exact same pressure I did when I was a kid, but I handle it a lot different now. I feel like I kind of need that pressure to perform at the level that I should be performing. I need to be pushed, and I need to feel that. And realizing that I need that to be a better fighter makes me cope with it a lot better as well. If I would feel like I'm not stressed at all inside, I would think something's wrong. Maybe I didn't prepare as good. Maybe I know deep down that I'm not ready, and that's why I'm not that stressed. Because it's really easy to not prepare properly for a competition, show up and not expect anything, thinking, I didn't prepare properly, so I'll probably have like a third place or nothing at all. But, and anything that you then have can only be better than what you expected. But if you prepare 100% for something and you expect that first place, then nothing is good enough. Then you need that first place. So obviously, if you then lose, the downfall is bigger as well. It's really hard if you then not succeed. So putting it 100% is a risk as well. But I'd rather put in 100% every time and just know that that pressure is on me than on someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And can you tell me, what do you do when the World Championships is over? Like, what do you do the 2 weeks after? Are you on a break, or are you back in training, or how do you deal with it?
Well, last year after the World Championships, we still had like 5 weeks of competing in the UK. So it was
okay.
one competition after another, and I was actually absolutely exhausted. But we have this fight team that we only started last year, and we are taking them to competition. So I think, especially in the beginning, it's important that they're seeing me compete as well, that I'm not just preaching, do this, do that, but if you do this, you will win, because I'm doing it and I will win.
Yeah.
So it's actually, leading them the way a bit. So I thought, okay, I have to still fight. So I was exhausted, like absolutely exhausted, but I still did about 5 weeks of competing. But normally I would take like at least a week where I'm just relaxing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think after a World Championships, you feel really, especially after last World Championships, I felt really deflated afterwards. Like I felt really sad, like really down, and I didn't really know why. But obviously, you've been training for weeks. You knew what you were doing every day, and then you're at the World Championships. Adrenaline is high every day, and then you win. Adrenaline is even higher. Amazing feelings, all these feelings all at once. And then you come home and there's nothing, you know, all that structure is gone, all that adrenaline, all that rush, all that high is gone. So I felt really sad for the first week, like really down, but I got myself together.
Yeah. Okay. I love how you describe that. It reminds me when, you know, when people are performing on stage or something and they say, I have this big crowd cheering for me. And then when I drive home and my wife is angry that I didn't take out the trash before I left, you know, like it's such a, yeah, it's such a high. And then you're like, huh? No one is
Exactly
applying it. Yeah. Wow. Okay. How much does nutrition, how much do you care about nutrition at this level of competing?
Well, because I always fight -60, I always make sure that I'm on my weight. I would be allowed to say that I've focused the entire year on my nutrition. Like I've done that for a few years where I would be really focused, not drink alcohol, really only do whatever I had in my diet. But it's really difficult to hold on to something like that, especially if you're training as much. So now I try and be good to myself, but I try and, you know, be conscious about it, not have too much fast food or sugars, or I'm conscious about it, but it's not something that is keeping me awake. But then again, in those 12 weeks before a world championship, we really try and cut out all the bad stuff, just focus on a higher protein intake, less sugar intake. So we do focus on that a lot more before a world championships. But yeah, for normal competitions, I don't overdo it.
Mm-hmm. And how much how the sleep, do you take that into consideration?
That I get enough sleep, you mean?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say that I do, but I function on minimal amount of sleep often. So I only need about 5 hours of sleep to be well rested. So I'll try and go to bed in time, but that often gets into getting up at 6 to do the training.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah. That's so true.
I try and get enough rest and enough sleep. And if I need to, I listen to my body, I have a nap, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really need that much sleep.
Yeah, nice. And I'm just asking this because I'm so curious, because everyone works in different ways. And yeah, it's always good to hear like someone who is a world champion talking about these things, but also that you know how you function best and that you listen to your body. I think those are the key points here. Amazing.
Yeah, definitely that, because I'll go through periods when I'm training where I'm like, oh, I'm really low on sugars or low on energy, and it's because I'm cutting out sugars. And then instead of, you know, thinking, no, I have to push through, I'll just allow myself something, you know, if my body's not working properly, it's not going to help me in training as it. So I just try and listen to my body as much as I can.
Amazing. Do you want to go to the European Games?
Yes.
Yes, that's the goal.
I'm 28 this year, so I think I'll do this year selections, next year European Games, World Combat Games, try and check that off, and then I think those will be my last 2-3 years of competing probably. So yeah, that's definitely what I'm going for this year, next year.
Cool. And what do you think will happen when you don't want to compete anymore? Like even if it's in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years to this, you know, you say you need this win and this lose situation. What do you think will happen?
Well, I realized that in coaching, I do get a bit of that same rush, and I enjoy giving those kids my knowledge and seeing that they actually do something with it on the mat. I love building their confidence and seeing that they're actually growing as fighters, and that gives me not exactly the same feeling, but it gives me a good enough feeling to continue doing that. So I'll definitely focus on coaching for many, many more years.
Amazing. And did you know I want to be a coach in the future, or now you're in this situation and you find out, okay, I really enjoy it?
Well, I think it's not necessarily a natural step, but if you like, at this moment I'm fighting and coaching at the same time, So for me, yeah, if I leave the fighting, I still have that coaching. It's not like I ever knew that I wanted to do that, but I do like, sharing my knowledge. And yeah, like I said, I enjoy seeing them grow, and it just made me feel like there's actually something that I want to take on full time or part time, try and do something with it at least.
Nice. And you say you can get these rush through the coaching. Can you tell me, is it when the athlete is winning, or is it just on the everyday on the mats that you see someone is doing something good and you get this exciting feeling? Or
Well, it's a bit on the mats and off the mats. When we started teaching the competition team last year, we started teaching them in April last year when everything opened up again. And these kids, they were not confident. They were like, they've been doing kickboxing, yeah, they've been doing their gradings and they've been doing stuff like that, but they didn't have much experience on competitions. They didn't have much experience on the mat, how to act like an athlete, how to train like an athlete. And yeah, I can say within 8 months, 9 months of training them, that they've all transformed so much from kids to young adults that actually know what they want and that are actually training for what they want. And it's so nice to see that I could put a little bit of that passion in them, a bit of that motivation. So I feel that rush when I'm not just when I'm coaching them and they're doing something that I taught them, or they're winning a fight, which obviously is the best feeling, but I also feel it when they're coming in and they're helping someone else out, saying, look, your guard is dropping there, can I help you with this, or you should do it more like this. So when they're actually pushing each other, telling them, I know you're tired, but keep going, those types of things are what make me feel really proud to be their coach.
wow, I love how you build a culture already between them, that come on, we help each other, and you can spar with each other also just verbally. Amazing. And I had a question, now I missed it. It was about the coaching, because it's very interesting. Oh yeah, did you yet have a situation, because this is what I hear and almost what I fear, but I know it will happen, that you build a really good relationship with someone and they realize, okay, I don't want to do kickboxing, I want to do hockey, or I want to drink beer. So did you have any of these situations where you had to let someone go, or they decided they wanted to go?
Well, not necessarily people that I'm like training with day to day, but it's happened to many friends of mine on the circuit, and to many people that I was training with, training partners. And at the end of the day, everyone has their journey, and I just support whatever people want to be doing. But yeah, I try and tell the kids that I'm teaching that I just don't want them to have any regrets, because they're at an age now where you pick up on stuff easily, where if you apply yourself properly to the sport, you can actually make it. You have so many years, and by the time that they grow up, the sport might actually be Olympic, might actually be in the Olympics. So they might have a big future with the sport. And if you take a big break and you pick it up again when you're 17, 18, it's too late.
Yeah,
they will have missed that transfer period or whatever. So I'm trying to tell them that, whatever you're doing, it's fine what you want to be doing, but realize that you have the tools now to do something with the sport, and you might not in the future. But like I said, I'm quite lucky that at this moment, all the kids have stuck around.
Yeah, wow. And how much time do you spend? So you say that you teach them how to be athletes and stuff like this. So how much time do you spend in the training actually talking to them about this versus they just do the training?
Well, to be fair, we got minimal amount of time that we got, like, I say our competition team, I work with them 3 times a week. So we won't have that much time to talk about mindset, but I will talk to them on the way to competitions. I will message them. I will, talk about mindset, especially if I'm doing one-to-ones with some of the kids as well. I'll talk more about how that mindset is important. And yeah, at a competition, I really want us all to act like athletes, like the stuff you talk about, the way you act, the way you're behaving, it all reflects on them, but it reflects on me as well. So they know that they have to behave.
Nice. Okay. Who is or was your biggest inspiration in kickboxing?
This is where I give a cliche answer, but I think my mom, even though she's not a kickboxer herself, but she's from the age of 6 years old when I wanted to do kickboxing, she's always backed me. And obviously the competitions, it's expensive. It's a sport that's not, you don't win much money with it, especially when you're a kid. And I would do competitions every month. Like I would do about 10 a year, and my mom had to pay all of that, you know. So she always supported me. She's always been coaching me as well. So even though she doesn't know the sport or doesn't do the sport, she still sits behind me. She used to sit behind me every competition, without doubt. So I think if I didn't have that strong push from my mom and that support, I wouldn't have been able to do all the competitions. I wouldn't have been able to grow as much as an athlete as I did. And I would have just missed out on a lot. And there were times when I felt like I don't want to go to training, but my mom said, you're going to training. There were times when I said, I don't really want to fight this weekend at this competition, but my mom said, you're fighting, you know, that's it. And I needed that. As a kid, you don't have it inside of you to push yourself at all times. So you need someone else to do it. And I'm very grateful that was my mom.
Amazing. I once heard this great advice that a kid came home and said, I don't want to do training anymore. And she had like a really bad training and she didn't want to go back. And the parents were like, it's okay if you want to quit, but you can only quit when you have a good training. So, you know, because sometimes you just say, I don't want to do it because it was a bad training, but you don't realize how much you will miss out on because you also have great trainings. I love.
I said it sometimes, maybe at home, like, oh, I don't want to go to training, or I don't. But I actually never had like a year off or never had any time off, because my mom would always just say, you're going to training. And if I wasn't going to training, like say, even when I was like 19, 20, you know, technically my mom didn't have much to say about me anymore. But she would ask me, why are you not going to training? I'd be like, well, I'm tired. And she's like, okay. Like, you know, just giving me that look, and I'll be like, what is it, mom? And she's like, nothing, but you might be tired tomorrow as well, or the next day as well. I'll be like, yeah, fine, I'll go, you know. And that's just how it was. My mom, she was always there. And I do really appreciate that.
Amazing. So I have just one final question. What is one thing that one should do right now if they want to be a world champion?
If they want to be a world champion, you should, like we said before, focus on you. Do not get distracted with other people. Do not think that they're training 3 times a day, or they're putting on social media that they're training 3 times a day. Social media is so fake, you know. I could put on that I'm training 50 times a day and people would believe it, you know. You shouldn't worry about what other people are doing. You should focus on what you are doing, and your progress is not someone else's progress. They might be putting up videos where they're kicking amazingly, and you think, but I can't kick like that. Well, then you learn to block better, you know, you learn to counter better. And you know, just focus on you. You don't have to look at other people all the time. And of course, if that's what you want to be doing, sure, by all means, study videos and learn from them, but don't obsess with them. Don't focus on other people more than you're focusing on yourself. So yeah, everything starts with working on yourself. And if stuff isn't going your way right now, if you're not winning as much as you want to be winning, just stay with it. You know, when I was younger, for years consecutively, I lost. I lost and I lost again and I lost again, and that made me to the winner that I am today. So you got to lose to learn how to win, you know. And even if you're not doing it now, just stick with it, and your time will come.
Nice, really great advice. This reminds me of when I realized that when I see my opponent do a warm-up and they do really great kicks, that doesn't mean that they can necessarily implement those kicks in a fighting situation with the right distance and everything. So it can really be fake, or like it's not what,
100%.
yeah, it's not what you think it will be. But other than that, I just want to say it's been amazing to get to know you better, because you are, I think everyone can hear it from this conversation, you are truly like a good-hearted person. Like, you just care about you being you and doing you, and also, you know, get putting this information on others. And yeah, it's really amazing. I really like
Thank
you,
you.
Evelyn. I think you are such a nice person.
Thank you very much. I definitely enjoyed the conversation. It's really nice to get to know you as well. So if you're ever around in the UK and you want to do some training, you're always welcome.
Thank you. I have to be honest, I've actually thought about it, because, you know, I also talked with Molly, and I also had a great talk with Elijah, and it just sounds like you have so many cool fighters up there, and I would love to just come visit you and learn a little bit.
Have a little road trip around and hit all of the
Exactly.
nice places.
Yeah, it would be so awesome. I will definitely take you up on that. Evelyn, where can people find you, and can they ask you questions or write you, or would that be okay?
Well, you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram, where you can easily reach out to me. You can also find me here in the UK. But no, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have on Instagram. I'm very approachable, even though I don't look at competitions.
And what's your name on Instagram?
So it's Evelyn with 2 N's _0.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, Evelyn.
No,
I wish you a great day, especially with the wedding venue. I hope you'll find some good ones.
Thank you very much.
Okay. See you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.